Hello, welcome to the show. Well, there are early signs that I'm picking up anyway that sellers could be rushing to the market. We'll dig into that a lot deeper when I'm joined by Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic in just one moment. Outsourcing will dramatically improve your productivity and profitability. Sure Agents have created a staffing solution to provide great staff who can perform duties in property management, sales, marketing and administration, and at a fraction of the cost, giving you and the team more time to spend on the dollar productive tasks. With rising costs and slowing revenue, the focus must be on value for money. Check it out, sureagents.com. We say hello once again to Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic. We'll bring up the final auction results in just a moment, but before we do, I'm hearing evidence out of Melbourne, Kevin, that some sellers have actually moved their auction dates forward to this weekend, anticipating probably there could be a bit of a slowdown. I don't know if you're detecting that yet?
Look, I haven't actually heard that, but I am aware that perhaps there are some sales prior to auction being negotiated because we've actually got an incentive on both sides, both the vendor and the purchaser, perhaps to conclude the sale before the hypothesis that there will be fewer bidders is actually tested.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we touched on this on Monday, or it might have even been last week, Kevin, where I said to you, I asked you whether or not you felt that clearance rates could suffer if people start not to turn up to auctions, and that's a whole different story. But let's bring up our final auction clearance rates. 65.3%, the national weighted average. That's down a little bit, Kevin.
Yeah, look, it is, as you say, down a little bit. I think it's fair to suppose that these results do reflect the fact that last week we probably saw a bit of a shift in awareness of the seriousness of the coronavirus situation. But it is also worth noting that, these clearance rates are still pretty firm in the mid 60% range. And as we also probably touched on, the fact that people may not physically attend an auction doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to find a way to bid. The market at the moment is quite strongly representative of an owner-occupier market, and those purchasers are probably going to look at options that they can pursue short of withdrawing from the market altogether. Although, of course, the sort of overall economic indicators relating particularly to tourism and travel will obviously have an impact on confidence, which you've got to overlay over this as well.
Well, let's have a look at those individual clearance rates out of the cities. Sydney, 68.1%, Melbourne, 65.6%, Brisbane, 49.4%, Adelaide, 62.6%, Perth, 32.1%, Tasmania, 85.7%. Good on you, Tassie. That's the way. Canberra, 65.4%. That's it. Look, that is a great result out of Tasmania, isn't it?
Oh, look, it is. As you know, we have a very low volume of auctions in Tasmania, but the market in Tasmania all through that softer period for the rest of Australia in 2018 did continue to go from strength to strength. So yeah, it's actually really pleasing to see Tasmania at the top of the league table.
Okay, we'll go to the Sydney sub-regions now, and let's first of all have a look at North Sydney and Hornsby. Most number of auctions for the week, and well, a reasonably good clearance rate, almost 70%, Kevin.
Yeah, look, I mean, that was still a pretty strong result. And I think that is something that we've seen overall, although we may be seeing a little bit of a softening. That is still a pretty good result. And the Northern Beaches in particular, 82.8% from 71 auctions. Again, it still shows that there is some underlying strength in the market, even though people may not be as inclined, particularly in the coming weekend, to attend an auction physically.
Okay, now the Melbourne sub-regions, and they're all in the, yes, they are in fact, except for Mornington Peninsula. There's Mornington Peninsula again, 77%.
Absolutely. So again, relatively low volumes for the sub-region, but obviously there is a representation in the Mornington Peninsula of some fairly high value properties down towards the end of the peninsula there. and that is the strongest result. And again, the inner south at 74.6% from 192 auctions. Again, pretty brisk activity. So it's still worth remembering that there is activity in the market, even if we think it might drop a little. It's actually at a fairly healthy level.
Well, talking about activity, let's bring up what's ahead for us in the week ahead in terms of auction numbers. And we can see Sydney 907, Melbourne leading the pack with 1,215, Brisbane 109. The others fairly normal, although Adelaide's almost 70 auctions. That's a pretty good showing, Kevin.
Yeah, look, that's not bad. It's not. It's certainly not a big weekend, but it's a reasonable level of activity for this time of year. Look, all of those decisions to list were taken at least sort of 28 days ago. So looking at those numbers, it tells us a story that the market is still pretty active, but the sort of unknown is how many buyers are actually going to choose to participate in the coming weekend. So look, I expect there'll still be a fair bit of activity, but it's going to be really interesting to see how it tracks after what we saw with a slight dip last week in the clearance rates.
Is it too early to tell, or have you got a feeling for the weeks ahead in terms of auction numbers, Kevin?
Yeah, look, I think the auction numbers we have, as I say, were listed, each of them at least 4 weeks before the date of the auction. So what we were seeing for the rest of the month is still fairly healthy level of activity. And then, of course, we run into Easter in the middle of April, which would always put a bit of a sort of interruption to the rhythm of the market.
Very good. Okay, well, we'll just bring up the final clearance rates again for you before we leave. Sydney, 68.1%, Melbourne, 65.6%, Brisbane, 49.4%, Adelaide, 62.6%, Perth, 32.1%, Tasmania, 85.7%, and Canberra, 65.4%. So, yep, another exciting week ahead. Kevin, I'll look forward to catching up with you on Monday, and we're going to have a look through the top sales in the cap cities. But interesting times ahead, my friend.
Oh, it certainly is. I'll be very interested to see what our discussion on Monday is focusing on.
Me too. Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic joins me every Friday and every Monday with the most comprehensive wrap of what's happening around the nation with our auctions. I'm Kevin Turner. Don't forget, Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow, and Kevin Brogan, as I said, will join me again on Monday. Kevin, have a nice weekend. See you on Monday, my friend.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Speak to you then.